Good afternoon everybody, I'm Rick the Pilot Teacher, and today you are in the privilege of my lovely heli trailer. My machine's outside, but today's video I want to talk to you about how to get that first flying job. It's really tough and it takes a lot of effort and a little bit of luck, but with persistence you can get that first job. And I'm going to give you some tips on what you can do to get yourself flying in one of these. So learning to fly is tough and that's a challenge, but you ask most pilots today and they're going to tell you that getting that first job was probably by far the hardest thing they've had to do in their journey of becoming a pilot. And it is tough. You've got a lot of students coming out of flight school. There's not that many places that will take on somebody fresh out of flight school with only a couple of hundred hours, if that, and you want to go fly around in $1 million plus helicopter. That's a lot of trust in somebody that really doesn't know what they're doing yet. So here's a few things that you can do that can help you get that first flying job. Now, one of the first things to do is to try and get the right kind of job that caters to lower time pilots. So trying to get on as a flying instructor at the school in which you trained. Of course, you've got to go through, probably get your instrument rating, your CFI. If you're training in Robinsons, you're probably going to go and get the Robinson factory safety course. Things like that that'll help get you that position. Another position that you can find low timers in is touring positions, doing tour flights. R44s, Bell 206 Jet Rangers are very common. Usually something like a Jet Ranger, they might want you to do a turbine conversion course, which is probably going to cost you, a few $1,000 to do. But if that's something that's going on in your local area, then it might be an option worth pursuing. Those are kind of jobs that really are geared to lower time pilots. Sometimes as well you can get like cherry drying or crop drying in an R44, R22, something like that. Basically just flying up and down the fields, bringing the warmer air in, using the rotor wash to prevent the frost going on your crops. That's quite a specific job, and it's very obviously specific to certain regions of the country. But if you're in one of those regions that you've seen this or heard this happening, it's definitely worth pursuing. Whilst you're at flight school, you always want to try and be the best that you can. Now that means flying, being personable with the students and with the staff. You want to be remembered for the right reasons, not the wrong reasons, because I'm telling you now, this is a small industry and everybody remembers certain people from flight school. And even now, 15 years since 15 years since I've been out of flight school, certain pilots would come and knock on our door and I'd be like, don't employ that guy or girl. Just so be remembered for the right reasons. So always try and be the best and be humble and just hardworking, always listening, and be remembered for the right reasons. This will help maybe get a job as a flight instructor with that school. It also helps with recommendations, because you'll be surprised how many companies will call a flight school and say, hey, we're looking for 1 or 2 pilots. You got any of your students that you recommend? And if you've been remembered for the right reasons, your name could get put forward to that company. So being a good all-round pilot, good all-round person, hard worker, always on time, always presentable, not scruffy, just a good all-round pilot can start to get you recommended even from flight school. So let's say you come out of flight school and you're not going to be a CFI, anything like that. You just want to get into an A-Star, a 44 or a Jet Ranger, and that's what you want to do. It's going to take some serious effort, and usually those that put in the effort will eventually get rewarded. Those students that sit behind a computer and fire out 50 resumes to every utility company across the country, probably not going to get anywhere. But one of the things that you can do is to start trying to arrange visits to go and see the companies that basically start off with the companies that are closest to where you live now, or where you are living now. Find out who the operations manager is, find out who their chief pilot is, find out what machines they operate. If they've got like an R44 or a 206, make sure that you're prepared for them to say, okay, let's go for a flight, let's see what you've got. So know the aircraft limitations, know the handbook, know the checklists. More prepared that you can be, the better you are going to impress the person that is basically examining you. You know, these machines are expensive, and they're not going to let anybody that they don't trust even join their company, let alone get to fly one of these. So the more that you're prepared, the better you're going to come across. So when you start going around, sending off your resumes, making a phone call a couple of days later, just say, hey, just wanted to know if you got my resume. I'm in the area. Could I possibly come and see you guys one day? And, you know, don't try and do this in the middle of summer. Like, I'm on fires right now and it's crazy. I think I've had like 10 days off in the last 3 months. So it's stupid busy. Don't try and go for visits during the stupid season, because you just get doors slammed in your face. So try and figure out when their busy seasons are and when their quiet seasons are. So if they're primarily involved in a lot of work in the summer, go see them in the fall and the winter. If they do lots of heli skiing and winter work, go see them in the spring and the fall. Don't go see them when they're busy, because you will get the door put in your face. But try and arrange a visit. Another cool thing that you can do is try and reach out and find the pilots and the engineers that work at those companies through like LinkedIn and Facebook, and try and get in touch with them and just say, hey, I'm a low-time pilot and could I come and see you at the hangar one day? You know, come in and just see what they do. Cool tip, come to the hangar, bring a box of donuts. You bring a box of donuts, you're gold. Yeah, we all love donuts. And I'm going to just take you outside and just show you around a second, because, let's see. You see, we've got machines sat at the moment. It's a little bit smoky, but yeah. You get donuts, especially when pilots and engineers are sitting around doing nothing. You'll be remembered for the right reasons. So yeah, it's a good for the company. Be prepared to fly. Even if you've never flown in that machine before, still be prepared, because it will impress the chief pilot operations manager or whoever. You might find that you get there and nobody is wanting to talk to you, they're too busy. This is just a fact of life. You just got to keep going, keep knocking on doors. Always have an up-to-date resume in your car, so you can just walk in with an up-to-date resume with your hours, where you've been, who you've been working for, what you've been doing. Another thing that really helps is if you've got some additional skills. Have you worked fires, like as a ground crew? Have you worked like forestry? Have you got your license where you can drive bigger trucks or semi-trucks? Do you have any experience in slinging and rigging loads, like for crane operations, things like that? Anything else that you have that could work to sell yourself? Another language is a good one too, especially if some of the operators work like down in South America or places like that. If you can speak, you know, Spanish, that could help. So anything that you've got, try and sell yourself when you visit them. Just say, yeah, I can also do this, I can also do this. I know about dangerous goods, I'm a qualified first aider. The more that you've got that the company can use, the more chance there is of that company saying, yeah, you know what, we'll give you a try, we'll give you a season, see how you go. So be prepared when you do get a first job to not go near one of these things for at least the first year or so. Many companies will turn you into a hangar rat or a gopher, and basically it's you are going to be at the mercy of the company for helping to get gear ready, get gear cleaned, go fetch this, go fetch that, do whatever. They're basically going to use you to basically see how your work ethic is and your work attitude. So once you get at that first job, make sure you're on time all the time. Be there first. Be there so they're kicking you out the door at the end of the day. Always be seen to be finding something to do. If you can't find anything to do, pick up a broom. If you can't find anything to do, go clean the toilets, go wash the kitchen sink, go do whatever. Always be finding something to do. Don't be bugging them all the time like, hey, what have you got for me to do? Have you got anything for me to do? Have you got anything for me to do? Be seen to be using your noggin and looking for stuff, even if it's just tidying stuff up. It always goes down well. So I got a story that I was told many years ago, and it was a perfect way of how two guys got at least half a dozen job offers. And it's something that I always like to tell new pilots into the industry, no matter how old you are, whether you're young, old, doesn't matter. And it was a cool story. We were on a fire like we are now, and usually at fires 6 to 8 o'clock at night, all the machines start coming back from the fires because they've flown their maximum amount for the day. And these two young kids, they basically showed up at one of the airports where there was like 20 machines, and basically they had their quad, they had a trailer, and on the back of the trailer they had a water tank and they had a water pump. And basically what they would do is when the machines landed, after they stopped, they would walk out, they would offer the pilots a bottle of water or a can of beer, and they would just say to the pilot, hey, can I sweep out your aircraft and clean your windows? And then they went from one machine to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. And by the end of the week, they knew all the pilots, all the engineers, and they had at least half a dozen job offers for them to come and work next year, because the pilots and the engineers had seen these kids using their own initiative and showing up to just help out on their own dime, on their own time, and that really impressed. So they were like, hey, you need to hire these guys for next year. And yeah, they got job offers and were working the next year. But something like that, when you've got a big mass of all different companies working in one place, is a great way to try and get your first position. And it goes without saying, you've got to be prepared to move anywhere, work anywhere, and do whatever it takes to get that first job, because it's tough. It's really tough. And with insurance companies wanting more and more hours now before they allow pilots to fly their jobs, it's harder and harder for new guys and girls coming in at the bottom, because the amount of companies that can actually have work that they can put you on is really tough. Like, we've got a junior pilot, and here for forestry you need 1,000 hours. Like, it's a lot of hours to get, and he's been out of flight school, and luckily we've got quite a few customers that we can fly him on. He's got great hands and feet, he's going to be an awesome pilot, and he was very lucky. It was same thing. They called, they found they called one of the friends of the flight school that mentioned to this guy. He got a recommendation, he came, they liked the look of him, he had a good attitude, gave him a chance, and he's taken that chance and just ran with it, and he's doing really well. But he's had to move away from home. He's now bought a house here where we live, and yeah, he's loving it. But it can be tough, and especially if you are already married, if you have kids, you've got to be prepared to move that family wherever and be away from home, and it's tough. It's going to take some serious commitment from both you and your spouse, and yeah, just keep at it. Just keep at it. Don't let companies take advantage of you though. If you're a gopher for like 2-3 years and they've not given you a flight, it's like, come on, give me a, just be aware of that. So keep going, keep trying, make those calls, find those resumes out, do the visits, try and think outside the box, try to get known by pilots and engineers, the operations manager, the chief pilots. Be ready to go fly at any time. Know the machines that they fly, know the limitations, checklists, you name it, and the more prepared that you are, the better chance you will stand of finally getting a full-time position. And once you do, it just goes on and on and on, and before you know it, you give up several thousand hours doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you got some little tips from it. Keep at it. It's going to be the toughest challenge of your journey, but nothing's easy, right? If you work hard, you'll reap the rewards. So keep at it, keep moving forward, and I'll see you on the next one.